Welcome to Spill the Tea about weddings with Sheila and Teresa. Hi, I'm Teresa.
Hi, I'm Sheila.
Hi there, welcome to Spill the Tea with Sheila and Teresa. You might notice that it's just Teresa today. Sheila's away, she's mistakenly got herself a little sick. So instead, we have the dynamic duo of two Teresas, and I'm happy to welcome Teresa from Be Captured Photography. Hi Teresa, how are you?
I'm doing good, and yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell people what you do?
Yes, definitely. So I'm Teresa, and I'm part of Big Capture Photography and Videography, and I'm the primary videographer. So on your wedding day, usually you get George doing pictures, and then you get me with the video.
Very good. So I love seeing the little videography highlight, but I don't know very much about what goes into it. And often I see you here for 12 hours doing videography, and then I see a highlight that might be just 3 or 4 minutes. So obviously a lot goes into it, and I'm sure that our couples get a lot longer video than the little highlights that I ever get to see.
Definitely.
So tell me a little bit about what you love about videography and what goes into your 12 hours.
Definitely. I think the easiest way to explain it to anyone about video and why you need a videographer for 12 hours and you can't just have the videographer for 2 minutes and then get your video is think of it as a movie, right? Any movie, out there, usually they're filming for days, weeks, months, years, like those big like Lord of the Ring movies or movies like that. I mean, took 2 years to film, you ended up with a 3-hour movie. So it's the same way with video on your wedding day. We are there. I'm capturing all the moments. I'm capturing the day as it's going by. And then once we get back into the office and we're processing the video, that's when we choose and pick the best moments and the best, shots, and then put your video together. So at the end of the day, the video is basically like a little mini movie of your day, depending on, if we're there for 12 hours, 8 hours, 4 hours. It depends, on the amount of time, how intricate and how much of your day is shown during the movie. But if it's like a 12-hour day, then you're basically seeing the video from the beginning, from when everybody arrives, like all those sweet little moments, all the way until send-off when people are doing their sparkler, bubble, whichever send-off they're doing.
I know with photography, often couples have a desired list of things that are important to them. So do they give you the same kind of list so that you know which, so if they're, for example, they're going to do private vows, that you're clearly going to want to record that. So they give you a list of things that you must capture.
Yes, definitely. It's for all of our couples, we always prioritize that it's very important that they do tell us what's really important for them and what's a must. Like, I definitely want this capture versus what, okay, if the day gets out of hand and we don't get this, it's okay. But we love when couples do have like a little bit of a list or a little bit of thought into the process, because it allows us to make something that's a lot more, detailed to that couple in particular. Sometimes couples don't, and sometimes couples just say, I just want a little mini movie of my day. And in that case, then of course, because we have years of experience, we capture, the moments that we think, each couple really wants to see in their video. But, it really just depends on the couple. Sometimes couples do give a list and couples do have a lot of opinion about it. Other times couples just say, like, we trust you. We just want to make sure, that our day is, captured and that we are able to look back, 10 years from now, 20 years from now and see a little movie of what our day was like.
Because obviously when they're in the middle of their wedding day, they miss a lot of things that are happening in the background. So I guess it's quite nice to I didn't know that she was doing that, or I didn't know that happened, or, so I guess those are quite important. But something that we find when we are first meeting our couples is that they say, we've never done a wedding before, we don't know what we're doing. So do you find that you prefer if they take your advice and guidance?
So definitely, of course, at the end of the day, I think, any couple that goes with a specific vendor, you go with the vendor because you trust that vendor, right? Like, you've seen their work. I mean, you've seen examples of their work, or you've gotten recommendations of that vendor. So you end up going with that specific vendor because you think, okay, like, this is the person, I like their work, and, I like what they're doing. So to a certain extent, yes, the couples should trust you if you're
Yeah,
going to
well,
be
you're going to
capturing
get
their
up
day.
close and personal with them all day,
Exactly,
aren't you? So they need to know.
So, so they should trust you, and they should trust your vision, and they should already kind of know the work that you produce. And then from there, like I said, it depends on the couple. That's when some couples will say, like, you know what, like, I do want input, and I do want to be kind of like a part of this whole process. Like, I do have ideas, I do have things I would like to do. You guys tell me if it's something we could do. And then other couples simply say, I really have no idea. This is the first time I'm getting married, and I am overwhelmed. And so in those cases, then we walk the couples through it. We tell them, what we think it's very important, what would make their movie even more romantic or even more personal. And we give them ideas. And then the couples, because we work with our couples one-on-one so much, we kind of know already a little bit about what they like. And so we know, okay, this couple loves the party and they want to capture like the fun part, or this couple is more romantic and they want that romantic movie. So depending on kind of what we know about the couple, we direct them into, things they can incorporate into it.
So how many meetings would you normally recommend you have with them before they have their wedding day?
It really depends on the couple completely. We always say 3 months before the wedding, because we get booked about a year in advance, at least nowadays, although we're getting booked sometimes 2 years in advance for some
Nice
weddings.
problem to have, isn't
It is. It is a nice problem to have because it gives you a lot of time to prepare,
Yeah.
right? So we tell our couples, we are here for you. If you want to, reach out to us, I don't know, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times before your wedding, we are here. We will listen because we want to work with you. We want to make sure we produce something that you love. So some couples do take that advice and they do reach out. Other couples, they're like, I don't really need that much meetings. I'm kind of pretty clear. I trust your vision. You guys tell me what you need. So
Do you find that really stressful? I find it so stressful when we see somebody's booked 15 months ago or 18 months ago, and we literally don't see them until a month before their wedding. And I think, oh, good God, I've not got to know you yet. Do you find that stressful?
So yes, we definitely, we reach out to the couples. So usually like 3 months before the wedding, we're already reaching out to the couple and seeing, and if we haven't heard at all from them, then we're saying like, hey, how's the planning going? What are you thinking? Do you have ideas? Did you start that in Pinterest board? Did you start, like taking screenshots of pictures you saw online and putting a little bit of those together so you can share with us? So we start reaching out like at least 3 months in advance if we haven't heard from the couple. And then a month out, we definitely always do a Zoom meeting so that we can go over timeline and stuff. Fortunately for us, a lot of our couples also book us for their engagement.
Right.
So we also see them then. So I would say it's very few that we don't talk a lot or see before the actual wedding day.
So do you find a lot book you for videography for engagements as well?
They do, because it
Lovely.
takes away the scary part of it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes videography can be like super intimidating to people because they think like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be an actress? Should I take acting classes? What do I do? So a lot of people get intimidated by it. That's the only reason, really, kind of mostly the reason why we use it for engagement sessions is, one, it gives you a little nice highlight video. It shows you how you look in video, because most of the time we have no idea how we look on video. We have no idea how we look, period, right? Like through the lens. So it gives you a little bit of a feel to how you would look. And then two, it gives you a little bit of taste of what it's going to be like on your wedding day. So for us, we love it when couples do, and the majority of our couples do book us for both. Like they'll have like the engagement session, they'll have the wedding, and then they'll book the package that includes both the little mini highlight video for their engagement and still also the video for the wedding.
So it's definitely something when we do tours with our couples we recommend, because I hate being in front of the camera.
Yes.
So I always tell people the story, the more you're in front of it, the happier you feel. And we strongly recommend all of our couples do either engagements or save the dates,
Yes.
bridal portraits, just to get used to having photographers and videographers really up close and personal, because, you can feel intimidated. And as soon as that camera comes out, most people freeze unless there's something that they're really used to doing.
Yeah.
So we definitely think it's a great idea, because it does, and it gives you the opportunity to get to know their personalities as well, doesn't it?
Definitely. And I mean, I think one of the most joyful moments of like when we are actually, doing the first session with a couple is when the couple sees what they look like behind the lens, right? I think we just had an engagement session where, during for engagement sessions when they're doing pictures, like George will show them like a little picture that he captured, like kind of like a little peek, because they're intimidated. They don't know what they're looking like. They don't know if they're doing it right or not. So sometimes he'll show them just a little bit of the raw image so they can see themselves. And we just had one couple weeks ago where the bride turns to the groom and says like, I didn't know we had that in us. We are like models here, and I just got such a chuckle and like so much joy out of it, because it's like, just, you can look like that, like you just have to trust, your photographer, your videographer will help you through it. And they were having a blast. It wasn't like, like you have to practice poses or things like that. We were just kind of walking them through poses, letting them interact, because really the most gorgeous pictures most of the time is when the couple's interacting and they don't even realize what they're doing.
I think it's always better when they're not posed. When they're just natural photos.
Yeah.
And I think for everybody, it always just
looks so much more
like
natural.
them, doesn't it? So definitely. So what else do you want your couples to know when they are thinking about, and they haven't made the decision to book videography? Because obviously some people think, oh, it's not in my budget. And then I see quite often on the socials, people say, the one thing I regret is not having videography.
Yes.
So what would you...
So the biggest thing I always tell all of our couples is, yes, a picture captures the moment, but it freezes it. So if you just had an intimate moment, like you just exchanged your vows, you just, did your first touch, the picture will show you and your groom frozen in that moment, whereas the video will show the whole moment. And so, pictures are great because it freezes that moment. You put them up on your walls, and so it brings you back to that moment to a certain degree, because you see the picture and then you kind of remember that moment. But wedding days go by in a flash. And so, like you mentioned earlier, sometimes couples don't even realize that that moment was happening. The picture will capture the frozen image, but the video will show you the whole emotion that went through on that moment. And I feel like, we always have a cute, like, little saying that me and George go back and forth on. And I always tell him when we're with couples, I was like, the pictures will make you wow. Like, you see the picture and all my couples are like, wow. I'm like, the video will make you cry. And like, because then you relieve the whole emotion and you actually get to see whoever is going through that emotion live that whole emotion, and you capture so many moments that the couple didn't realize happened. Whereas with a picture, although you see the picture and you see the moment, it's only a picture, but it doesn't give you context, right?
No,
so if I take
no
a picture,
emotion to it.
exactly, not at all. But if I show you what happened, like the mom throwing a little girl, like it's a special song in the background, things like that, you capture the whole emotion. So I feel like, for all of our couples, when sometimes they think like, is it really worth it? Is it not worth it? I'm like, you won't remember a lot of moments during your wedding day, especially if you have a packed schedule on your wedding day, and video will actually show you that story of what you lived on your wedding day.
Right, you can sit back and watch it.
Yeah.
And I guess also bringing back memories of people who in 10 or 20 years' time might not be with you anymore.
Exactly.
It's good to hear their voices and see what happened.
Yeah, definitely.
Very good. Excellent. So what else do you wish couples knew about videography?
So I think, one of the big things, like I said, is a lot of couples get intimidated by it, right? And it's nothing like that. You're not, you're not on set. You're not trying to act. We just capture like the emotions as they're going throughout the day. Most of the time, you won't even know we're there. Like, we're like a little fly on the wall, because obviously we're not interrupted moments. We're capturing them. So that would be like one of the things that, I would want couples to know, is that it's not as intimidating as it sounds. You don't have to be a professional in any way, shape, or form. We're just capturing your moments, and you don't really even realize half of the time that we're capturing them. I think that would be like one of the biggest ones, for our couples. And then the second one is, do trust your videographer, and do give it your twist, right? Like, I mean, you want to trust your videographer that they are going to capture, those intimate, emotional moments. but you want to personalize it because every couple's different, every wedding is different, you know, and doing little things. And when I say personalized, I don't mean you have to do major things, right? Like, I mean, we had one of the weddings where, like, you know, one of the things that the couple loved the most was the groom and his groomsmen brought a football ball, and then they played some while they were waiting for the wedding.
It was one of my favorite moments for that wedding, actually.
Exactly.
I thought it was absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I mean, and they were having a blast.
Just fun.
And it was just, you know, we captured a little bit of it. And then when they saw the video, of course, they were like, oh my God, that was such a fun moment. So, and they all watch football religiously. So they all own a football. So it's not like they had to go and invest on a football. They just had to bring it, right? So little things like that, you know, will make the movie even more personal to you. And I think that little personal touch goes a long way because it shows who you are as a couple. So whereas if you don't have any input and if you don't personalize it in any way, yes, it's still going to show your wedding day. And some couples are perfectly okay with that. You know, my more shy couples, they're like, I don't really want much going on. Like, I just want you to capture the day. And it is still lovely. It is beautiful. But I do think sometimes, you know, like the funny, the moments that really stick to your mind are those moments where the couple personalize, you know, like little moments, right? I mean, I still think, you know, one of the weddings we did here, I mean, years ago, I think it was one of the first weddings we did with you guys where they did the baby reveal and nobody knew that the bride was pregnant. You know, like, I mean, the groom's face, you know, capturing that moment because he was taken aback that it was a little girl. I mean, like, that moment was priceless. And so they involved us in that process. You know, we knew, and then the bride and groom knew, and that was pretty much the only people that knew that was happening, right? So, and to this day, we still talk about it because it was just such a cute moment. So little things like that will make the whole video part of it speak more to you than, you know, just a generic one. But, you know, I mean, every couple's different, so some couples might just want the generic. So tell me,
I know Sheila is an emotional mess quite often at weddings. So do you ever get emotional at weddings when you're videoing it, or are you just so focused on your job that you don't?
Yes. I think, you know, that's a part of being a professional at this, right? You can't get involved because if you get involved in the emotions, you might miss a moment. So, you know, although, of course, I mean, we love what we do and we love weddings. So, I mean, so we get very excited. You see us showing up at the venue, you know, we're ready, we're like pumped, we're like, okay, let's get started. Your day is starting. So a lot of the time, you know, like, of course, we're excited. Of course, you know, we're so happy to be a part of your wedding day. But we don't want to in any way affect the emotions happening on the day because it's your day and your family's day and your guest's day. And we, although we are very grateful and very fortunate to be hired to be there for your day, we don't want to impose our emotions or, you know, have our emotions play into it. So, you know, I mean, we just kind of, we try to, I think like the biggest thing, everybody always says, like, you guys are always pure black and always like, you know, like kind of blending into the background, because that's what you should, because it's your wedding. So you as a couple should be living the emotions. We should be as invisible as possible so that you can actually live the true emotions. I feel like if you are uncomfortable and you have a camera right in your face and your videographer, photographer are right in your face, you're just gonna freeze and you're not gonna be able to enjoy that moment or that emotion. But if your photographer, videographer make you comfortable and they're kind of in the background, not so in your face, then you're going to be able to just enjoy your day and really focus on your loved ones. And that's really what it should be about, right? It shouldn't be about the vendors, although we play a humongous part of it, but it's not our day, it's the bride and groom's day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have very strong opinions about vendors being professional and doing their job properly. You know, you and I have talked about that on a regular basis about, you know, people not blending into the background and just making sure it flows seamlessly. And that's so important. I think, I mean, people often think I'm cold and heartless because I don't have any emotion on wedding day. I'm just focused on getting the job done and making sure everything's perfect. And I think, you know, from your perspective, like you say, just being in black and blending into the background is just so important because, I mean, somebody like me who would hate to have a video in my face, if I was aware of it, I think would make me very uncomfortable. So I think for sure,
change your emotions.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, you know, when you're going through the motions, like, of course, we're going to be there and support you. We're your biggest cheerleaders, right? So, I mean, it's not that we're not emotional and we're not happy for your day. We are there cheering you on. But you don't want us to be the, protagonist of this story. It's the bride and groom story, not us, right? So it's not about us. It's about them being comfortable, having a good time, and then us being able to capture those genuine moments.
So come on, spill the tea. What are your biggest frustrations when is it timelines going awry, or people not being ready, or well, go on, spill the tea.
Definitely. Wow, spill the tea. So I think, one of our biggest frustrations sometimes is that timeline, right? Because we do invest a lot of time with our couples going over their timeline to try to make sure, when sometimes, the timeline or our advice is completely taken out, like, or completely not.
Oh, doesn't that drive
follow.
you crazy when you're the professional and your advice is ignored, and you think, oh God, I do this all the time.
Exactly.
I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Like sometimes, like certain things that you need to capture, right? So, sometimes like they'll put a timeline and they'll be like, okay, 5 minutes for the first look with dad, 5 minutes for first look with the groom. And then they put them back to back. They don't realize, one, the bride is probably going to cry and she's going to need to have her makeup retouched. Two, if we're moving locations, we are hauling all that equipment with us, and we need to get set up so we can get that moment.
And it's pretty precious equipment. You can't just dump it in a box, can you?
Yeah,
You've got to be careful with it.
Run over. So we do have to, take that into consideration. And again, you don't want to be the ones that are kind of imposing on those moments. So if you say, 5 minutes for the first look with that, and that is emotional crying, hugging his daughter, you don't want to be the one that's like the jerk. And it's like, well, the timeline says now we're on first look with groom. Dad, stop it, let's go, right? You don't want to be doing that. So,
well, and if dad's really emotional and takes extra time, I mean,
you've got
to have those buffers, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, for us, one of our biggest like pet peeves is that sometimes couples just don't listen. And then during the wedding day, the timeline is all over the place. And we are running around trying to, catch up because everything is always running behind. Whereas, like if you allow a little bit of time in between things, one, not only does it give us time to regroup, move to the next location and get ourselves set up, but two, it also allows the couple to take a breather. Like I think one of the things that I always feel like, oh man, like such a beautiful wedding, such a beautiful everything, but I always feel like, is when the couples, when in a flash, they never had a moment for themselves. They never had a moment to sit down and take it all in. And at the end of the night, they're exhausted and they don't even remember the wedding day. Because you think you put months of planning into this. You spent a very pretty penny on all of this. And to have you basically not even remember your day because you crammed it with so many things, or you were allowing people to pull you in all different directions because they all had opinions, and then now you don't even remember your wedding day. I'm like, so I think that's one of the most unfortunate things that I feel, when couples go through that at the end of the day and, we get home after the wedding and you kind of like sit down to decompress, and then you just think like, I don't think this couple is even going to remember their day because they were just pulled in every direction and they were exhausted.
So something that we tell our couples, or I really strongly tell our couples when we do tours, is that they need to build private moments into their day.
Yes.
I'm a big advocate of private vows, first looks, first touches. If you can't do a first look, a first touch for sure. And I also tell our couples that, build having dessert together upstairs. I mean, we're very fortunate we do have the room upstairs that they can go. We have had couples have their whole dinner together. They've snuck in after portraits and had dinner before everybody comes in from cocktail hour. I think those moments are so important.
They are.
And I love this new trend of private vows that it seems to be more and more couples are doing that. And I think it's so important to have, they forget, don't they, why they're getting married.
Exactly.
It's not for a party, it's because they're marrying their best friend, and it's just about them. So I definitely am 100% on your side, build those times in.
Yes.
And, that's one of the reasons why 12-hour packages are so important, isn't it? Because trying to rush everything into a 4 or 8 hour package, if they've got all of those plans in mind.
Oh, definitely. It's very difficult. I think that's another thing, right? When we have couples who are adamant that they want the 4-hour package and that's it and that's all the time, but then once you start building that timeline, they say, oh, we want behind the scenes, oh, we have first looks, oh, we want the ceremony, oh, we want the reception, first dances, those. you think that's not going to ever happen in 4 hours. There is no way, unless it's just you and the groom, or like just a couple themselves, and maybe one bridesmaid, one groomsman, maybe. But even then, it's pushing it, because again, you're just going through things so quickly that, one, you're not allowing yourself the time to enjoy the moment and to live the moment, and then two, it's not enough time. It's just really not enough time. I think 4-hour packages are really just for elopements, or like little like micro weddings. Like, yeah, you could work on those and stuff. But if you're having a regular size, wedding, a regular size bridal party, then 4 hours is not gonna, get you what you want, and then you're gonna feel very rushed throughout the, like the moments. And for those 4 hours, you're basically on the spot, like nonstop.
Do you think part of the problem is, social media and Pinterest give people the idea that all of these things can be created without taking into consideration that, even the special moments like the private vows, if they go wrong the first time they record them, you might do it a second time, or you might, and I don't think people quite understand why you ask for this amount of time in between different parts of videography, because it's not just a fly on the wall that's following people around, because to capture everything you've got to be in 5 different places at once almost, haven't you? So I think that people don't quite understand what all is involved in creating that magic.
Definitely. I think social media shows the highlight of every day. That's it. Very rarely do you see like the stressful moments, the bad moments. Nowadays, a lot more of like the influencers, the creators have started to also show a little bit of that behind the scenes, right? But most of the time, all you see is that curated moment, the perfect moment, the perfect image. And, couples don't realize what went into creating that perfect moment, that perfect image, that perfect dip, like that perfect forced dance. So when they come to us with like a huge Pinterest board, we do tell them, like, hey, like, we can do this, but then this is the amount of time we're going to need to be able to create that. So we do understand that for a lot of our couples, this is the first time getting married, right? So they go online, they go on social media, they create a Pinterest board, they have a million ideas. And so we understand that it's not their fault, like it's like what they're looking at social media, it's what they think their wedding will look like. But it is our, I guess, job as professionals to make it real and to allow the couple to understand, okay, we can create these moments, but this is what the time we will need to create them. If you are good, with your communicating with your couple, any vendor, will be able to tell them, okay, well, a florist will say like, okay, I can make this cascading florals, but this is the budget you're going to need, and this is the amount of time, and this is the amount of people I'm going to need to hire. We can create it, but this is what's necessary. If you communicate that to your couples correctly, then your couple will be able to make those decisions and say, okay, well, definitely want this, definitely want that, definitely don't want this because it's going to take too much time.
All about communication from the beginning, so that they know what the expectations are. I mean, we very much believe in being yes people, and we will say, yes, we can do that, or yes, you can have that. However, the parameters are, you've got to set the expectations from the beginning so there's no disappointment. So tell me, when you put together their video at the end of their wedding, firstly, how many hours of editing do you do if you have a 12-hour? And then what would the expectation be of how long would you expect their video to be?
So, well, one, usually, by the time we finish capturing like a full 12-hour day, we have like 4 or 5 hours of footage to go through. So, that takes some time because it's hours of footage, and then you kind of have to go through the, choosing the best angles, choosing the best moments, and trying to put it together. So usually, depends on the package for the couple, but most of the time, if it's a 12-hour, if the couple really just wanted kind of more generic, didn't have actual input, or didn't like really have a lot going on, you probably end up with like an 8 to 10, 12-minute, highlight video. If the couple put in a lot of thought into it, they did special things so that it adds a lot more to the video itself, then you are looking at a video that could be like 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, half an hour. I mean, it just really depends on how much, we have to capture. Because that's the other thing, right? It's always, you want to capture a movie, but let's say, if the movie, you say, I want to capture my kids playing in the playground, but the playground only has one swing, and that's the only item that the kids can play with. Are you going to want a video that's 30 minutes long of just the kids on the same swing, just swinging back and forth, right? Whereas if you go to the playground and you have slides, monkey bars, swings, all of the things, can you come up with a 30-minute video that looks very fun and that has a lot of different angles and a lot of different things? But what was the difference? You had all of those things.
Right.
So it goes the same with, weddings, right? I mean, if you are planning a ceremony and you have no toast, your dances are 50 seconds because you're not a dance person, and then you don't really have anything else going on, then your video is going to be a little bit shorter, because we really don't put 2 hours of people just dancing in a video, right? Like, that's not
Really
a
boring,
cinematic,
isn't it?
it would be definitely be a lot very boring. So it just really depends. But if it is, like the 12-hour, anywhere from like 8 minutes, if there is really not much going on and it's more like just about capturing the moments, or it can be a lot longer depending on what we have going on.
That's interesting. So a note to our couples is they need to get creative and come up with
Yes.
some ideas, is my opinion. If you're going to invest in something like that, then just being boring. I mean, it's a bit like having a DJ and then not dancing, isn't it, really? If you're going to not dance, don't spend the money. So, there definitely is some thought required to go into these things, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, well, very good. Well, on that note, we're going to stop and we will chat again. Thanks
Yes,
for joining us.
Definitely. Thank you.
Don't
Thank you,
forget to
everybody.
like, follow and share. Spill the tea.